This is number one bullshit.
Welcome along to Obviously Fight Talk episode 118. This is Noel O'Keefe and I am joined for forever Robert Palin.
What's that mean?
Don't know. Just went with it.
Thanks, man.
So welcome to Rob. I'm going to say it and I'm going to say it now. This is a quality episode of Obviously Fight Talk.
Is it a quality episode? Tell me why. Tell me why.
Quality. We will be joined by one of the co-main, the challenger in the welterweight division. Darren Till will be joining us. We will be talking about McGregor and Nurmagomedov. It's official. It's happening. What do we think? We'll tell you.
Nurmagomedov.
UFC 227 recap. We'll be looking at that, and we'll have your quickfire news. But we'll also, it's a little version of quickfire news because we are joined by the Ringer and MMA Fightings. We only get on the best here. Chuck Mindenhall will be joining us to talk the big stories of MMA this week. And this week in MMA history, we have a double barrel shotgun of Anderson Silva.
Oh yeah,
we sure do. But before we continue and dive into things, hit subscribe, get sharing, and follow us. We're everywhere. We're on Podcast Republic. We feature there, so go listen to us there if you listen. Spotify, we're also there. I like Spotify. It's crisp. It's easy. You don't have to download it all the time. Just hit play. Magic. Or if you're watching us on YouTube, hello, and share it. Get it out there with your friends, and go check out obviously fighttalk.com. We've been writing things down.
We've been writing things down. It needs a bit of an overhaul. It's going to get an overhaul, and we have some things in the pipeline.
We have to get, when you click on it, it's me and you there first. We should really get the articles up there first.
Yes, I know. Well, we need to do loads. The whole team will change. Everything will change.
Yeah, so plenty of news coming for obviously fighttalk.com.
Maybe a new name.
New
URL.
Yeah, but the way I look at it is let's not waste time.
Yeah, let's go.
UFC presser happened this weekend. One of the biggest features on it was Darren Till. He squared off against Tyron Woodley for the first time. Let's get his thoughts on that and many other things, including how his missus felt about his comments at the press conference. So, we're delighted to be joined once again by Darren Till. So welcome back to Obviously Fight Talk, and we are delighted to say we are now joined once again by the gorilla, Darren Till. Darren, welcome back to Obviously Fight Talk, my man.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Obviously, big news coming out with you is that you've got the title shot against Tyron Woodley. At the weekend, you were in LA for the big presser as well, so you got to stand and look Woodley eye to eye for the first time. So what was your take on looking down your opponent for the first time?
I enjoyed it. I didn't see no fear in his eyes or nothing. Just maybe a little dwindle of doubt. But yeah, I enjoyed the press conference. I enjoyed a little back and forth with Woodley, and I enjoyed the stare down, sizing him up and seeing what he's about.
One thing he did say after the presser, he said that he's faced big welterweights before. Obviously, everyone talks about your size going into fights, but what's the difference between you and the guys he's fought, the bigger guys that he's fought already?
I'm just more intelligent, mate. I said this to him, I've just got that little bit more of a special ingredient in the other fighters he's fought, and I know I have him. I'm more of an intelligent fighter. I'm not a stupid fighter, so I don't come to brawl. I come to technically, beat you. So, that's what I feel I've got over the other fighters.
And what do you think the challenge that, obviously what you just said there was well, but what do you bring different that is going to take Woodley? Because in some ways, what I got watching the press conference, and it mightn't have been the case with Woodley, but in some ways he was sort of saying, look, I'll just go and beat this next kid and it's whoever's next. In a way, do you find that a little disrespectful, or do you think that he is maybe looking past you already?
Maybe that could be the case, mate. You never know. I don't know how hard he's training. I don't know how much his head is in this. He says he wants to retire with the belt, so obviously he doesn't want to let anyone come and take it. But it's how far he's willing to go. I'm willing to do everything to take that belt from him, and that's what I'm going to be doing the 8th of September. So we'll see how prepared he is for my rat on the 8th of September.
Obviously you're going in confident, and you're going to say that you're going to win. What's your impression of when you beat Woodley? In your opinion, what's your impression of Woodley's title reign so far? Because he seems to be a bit of a divisive champion. A lot of people think he was a great champion. A lot of people think he avoided some people. What would your impression be of his legacy as a welterweight champion?
I think he's good. Not a bad champion. He's beat some top competition. I just don't think he'll ever be considered the greatest welterweight of all time, or I don't think he's done enough or pleased enough fans to do that. So it's opinion. It's all opinions, but I think he's beat the right people, but I don't think he's been the best champion.
It's one thing as well that came out, and again, it's from a lot of fans and stuff as well. Obviously, when you beat Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, the big thing was when the fight got announced was, we shouldn't be getting the title fight because he didn't even make weight. Are you sick to death of hearing that?
If that's people's only excuse why I don't deserve a title shot, it's a pretty poor one. I've got the second best record in the whole of the UFC after Khabib Nurmagomedov. I'm 17-0. So, who else deserves the title shot? I know I said after the fight, I don't deserve one. They want to give it to someone else. But then, when they offer it to me, I've got to make me case as well of how I do deserve. I've got to build this fight up, and no one's been able to beat me yet. So why don't I deserve a title shot? Just, from one time not making weight. Am I the only fighter in the history of the UFC who hasn't made weight? So it's just a bullshit excuse, you know what I mean? I'm just not arsed though. It's funny.
And coming off the Thompson fight, Darren, when you were going into that, was it known that you were potentially that was a number one contender shot, that you were next in the line, or have things just fallen into place after that fight?
I don't really think about that stuff. I think about the fight ahead. I don't think about how much I'm getting paid going into the fight. I don't think about where it's going to put me. I think about how much I need to beat this next opponent, and that's the only really thing that goes through my mind, to be totally honest.
It's something there as well. I keep bringing up the bad news. You're going to hate me during this interview. But it was something, you gave an interview as well at the presser where you turned around and you spoke about your legacy. And a lot of news and flack as well has come from that, because you'd mentioned your partner who's pregnant, and you mentioned your child as well, and that you didn't care about that. You only cared about your legacy. Now, what I took from that interview when you were talking is a lot of people would say to become a great, you have to be selfish. You have to invest everything into your fight career. But a lot of people are giving you flack for the comments you made in and around your missus and your child as well. Is that what you meant by it, more so about we have to be selfish in this game, or what did you mean by it?
Yeah, it's all about being selfish now until 8th of September. Listen, it's funny, I haven't even really read what people are saying, but my girlfriend's sat next to me right now laughing. It comes to something, right, when stuff like that, my girlfriend's laughing at, and it's offending, grown men and grown women, that's just funny shit. It doesn't affect them, what I've said. It's, my girlfriend and my daughter, they know what's what, and she was right next to me when I was giving that interview, and she was laughing. Some people just need to stop trying to be offended. All right, it might have come out as if I don't give two shits, but right now, it's all about me until the 8th of September. It's I have to be selfish enough. And, after the fight, everyone knows the downtime, holidays, going to see my daughter. It's just people wanting to be offended.
Do you think that's more so because people just don't know what it is to be an elite level fighter? You are top of the food chain fighter. So do people just not understand what it takes, the sacrifice that it takes to get there?
Yeah, people just don't know. Listen, in 5 weeks' time, all my life's work, will have led up to that one moment. 15 years in the making. I couldn't have got here without being selfish, and working so hard and having bumps in the road, and there was many days where I didn't, there was some days I couldn't eat. There was some days because I just gave my whole life to the fighting, and now it's paying off. Do you know what I mean? So people just don't understand, how it works, high level fighting, and they look for any opportunity to be offended. They just need to, it's just online trolls, mate. They just haven't got a clue.
How is it that you build that legacy that you're looking for? Because it seems like some fighters have different approaches. Like obviously Conor has moved up weight classes, but he hasn't defended titles, so a lot of people look at that. Whereas Demetrious Johnson, instead of his weight class, defended his title so many times. What's your approach? How do you build your legacy? Do you look for multiple titles in multiple weight classes, or more so, dominate divisions?
Yeah, I think both play a factor. I think fighting anyone, fighting the best, taking out the best, winning belts and stuff like that. But also dominating. So, when you do win the belts, get the next best person to defend it against and dominate him, and then you become a dominant, great. That's how I see it.
That's what I got growing up myself watching MMA, and the real big thing about MMA, the opinion used to be the best will always fight the best. There's no real, layups, if you like, in MMA. But that opinion has changed a lot. But from talking to you, Darren, before, obviously as well today, it takes me that if you were the champion, if Dana White or Sean Shelby was to ring you and go, this is the next guy in line, you strike me as the guy who's going, fucking line him up, let's knock him out. You seem like you'll fight anyone, anytime, especially defend the title.
Yeah, I think to be the champion and say you're the best in the division, you've got to fight that next best guy, and I've already given my opinion on the top guys in the division. I'm not going to be at welterweight for long, but while I'm here, 5 weeks, I'm winning that belt, and then, wherever it goes from there, the best in line is getting that shot. I don't want to pick and choose my competition. I'm not that type of fighter.
We had it with the presser as well. I want to bring out one point with the presser as well. There was a one fight that everybody sort of wanted to see. It was like a fans fight to be made. It was Platinum Mike Perry. Everybody wanted to see this. Now, it seemed like this happened behind closed doors in the sparring session. Now, somebody said to me today, you can clear this up. I'm not too sure how true this story is, but someone had told me that apparently you taught Mike Perry, said, are you going to the spa? And you turned up and he was ready to go for sparring. How true is that?
Yeah, that's 100% true. I've got rivalry with everyone who steps in my way on fighting, and I had rivalry with Mike. And if we ever fight, I still will have a rivalry, but outside of fighting, outside of all the bullshit, Mike is a nice person. He's a nice guy, and he's just trying to better himself as a fighter, as am I. So, what's the problem going behind closed doors and kicking the absolute shit out of each other, and then after it saying, do you want to go and get some food? So I don't see no problem with that. So when I did realise that I was 100% down for that as well. Like I ain't the guy to be like, oh no, we shouldn't spar because of this, because of that. I don't really give a fuck. So we went and sparred, and it was a great time. We had a good time together.
What was your take on the overall press conference in general? It seemed like when the McGregor thing happened, Nate Diaz walked off. Did you see that, or did you talk to Nate afterwards? Did you get the impression what he was upset about?
No, I don't really know. Maybe he wanted to be on the same bill or whatever. It's maybe feels like he should have got the fight. I don't really know. It's not my problem. Whoever Nate fights, I'll be tuning in to watch, even if he doesn't fight Poirier or what, because it's fan favourite with the Diaz brothers. Everyone knows that, but maybe he's just a bit upset that maybe he wants to fight Conor, or maybe he wants to fight Khabib. I don't really know. So it's not my problem, so I don't really care.
What's it like at them pressers though as well, Darren? Because obviously a lot of you guys, they're all backstage, they're all interacting. Like what you're saying with Mike Perry there, cool guy outside of the cage. Is it sort of like that backstage at these things, or what's the general feel amongst all you fighters when you're all meeting?
Not really. You talk to who you talk to. There's some guys there that you might not like or get along with, so it's not like you go up and talk to them. I don't want to be a fake guy either. If I've got like beef with someone, I'll shake the hand, but I'll just be like, look into their eyes and like, yeah, we've got beef, but there was no one there really who I don't like or what. So, as you say, the biggest rivalry there I had was, apart from the champion, with Mike Perry, and we went and sorted that shit out. So, it is what it is. If there is someone there you don't like in his rivalry, I'm sure the UFC keeps it bad, because you know, I can imagine, you know, if it was me, you know, and some guys like start giving shit backstage, we're gonna have a fight, aren't we? So, you know, I don't really know. I don't really give a fuck either.
How would you feel as well? I won't let you keep it for much longer. We'll let you go. The camp. It's a pretty short camp for the fight. Is that a better thing? A faster turnaround for you? Not as much build up.
Yeah, that's better for me. I'd love a good build up, but it's better for me. You know, a short camp. You know, all I need to do now is just get weight down and, you know, train hard every day. Sometimes them long camps, they take the toll on, you know, your body and your mind. So, you know, for me, I think it's really good having a short camp. I like it.
Well, I can't wait to see you back in there again. I loved watching John Gooden as well, travelling around with you, going around Liverpool. You showing him around, sitting down, having a chat.
It's great crack.
We wish you the best of luck here. Obviously, we're big fans. We appreciate you coming on and taking the time yet again, Darren. Best of luck with the rest of the camp. Stay injury free, and hopefully we'll be talking to the Anne New after the 8th of September.
Most definitely. Thank you very much for having me on, guys.
Cheers, and pleasure. All the best. Take care, mate. Good luck.
Ciao.
There you are, the challenger to the crown at welterweight, Darren Till. As always, we really appreciate Darren coming on.
Yeah.
Darren's a friend of the show at this stage, Rob, surely.
Well, I think we can say that, yeah.
We're mates.
Yeah, friend of the show.
Friend of the show, Darren Till.
Yeah.
Again, biggest fight of his career, coming off the win of Stephen Wonderboy Thompson.
Yeah.
I didn't want Darren, he does mention it a lot, Rob, when he talked to me. He only looks at the fight ahead. So I had a question in my head, you know, if you get the win here, do everything goes according? Are we going back to Anfield? But we would have got the, you know, I'd taken this fight at the time. And in fairness, he's got his hands full in a dominant champion title in Woodley, but
we spoke about this before with Darren when we had him on last time. Well, not on, we had him in almost in the studio somewhere else. But we talked about kind of his mindset and his kind of the way he is with other fighters, and a lot of people think he's this really cocky guy that doesn't give respect to anyone. But like every interview we do with him, and every interview I really see with him, he's very respectful to his opponent, extremely respectful. He's always been respectful to Woodley. To Thompson, he was super respectful. Yeah. He just thinks he's going to beat him. So it's kind of interesting that he has a weird, like, people think of him as a different guy.
I think he has a great way of balancing it. Like, he's super aggressive when he needs to be, and it's quite funny that he cleared up that comment about the misses and stuff like that, because it is. I remember, I think it was Muhammad Ali who was going on about you have to be selfish to be the best in the world. I think it was Muhammad Ali.
A lot of people say that. A lot of fighters say that.
I think it's the same in most sports. You'll get a lot of retired NFL players, or even like soccer players or whatever, that will mention that to be top of the game, they have to be selfish.
After I heard him say what he said there, it seemed like he was missing a couple of words in that. It seemed like he was missing in, from now until then, I don't care about this. If that was there, that would have cleared everything up.
Yeah, true.
It was, I don't care about this in general. That's what people took from it. But it seemed like from these 5 weeks, I don't care about anything but the fight. He was missing those few little words at the start.
But his missus was sitting beside him laughing, so that's the main thing. I was going to follow up the question, well, when you got home, did you have to sleep on the couch? But he didn't. And we appreciate it because he's only home from LA as well, so jet lag would be kicking him.
Fair play to him.
But fair play to him coming on to obviously Fight Talk. Thanks again, Darren Till. Welcome back to obviously Fight Talk, and I think it's easy to say, Rob, welcome all casuals and all people who dip their toes in the muddy pool of MMA. The king is back. It's number one bullshit. Conor McGregor is back in the UFC, and it will be 693 days
when he does.
When he steps into the octagon.
You got there eventually.
Face Khabib Nurmagomedov. Conor is back, Rob. We sort of knew it. Ariel had given this about maybe 2 weeks ago, was it? The news about 2 weeks ago, I'd say. And so we all got excited, but let's be honest, it's amazing when it actually gets announced. So the UFC press conference had gone through. I think it was John Morgan that asked about it, and then it was like, we'll see if it happens.
Yeah, the elephant in the room. Jeez, the elephant in the room.
And then go on.
No, I was going to say something.
And then it stopped, and he went, "Oh yeah, boy, the presser was over. Oh yeah, and by the way, this."
Yeah.
Boom. So
Dana White lied to their faces. I never thought I'd see the day.
Dana White, fucking snake. Yeah, so it's official. They done the announcement. What did you think of the promo? First of all, I got chills. Watching it, because it's like, I knew it was happening, but you're like, this is awesome.
Yeah, you were expecting it to happen, and you were just waiting for, like, when Dana said it's not going to happen, you know, you can't always trust Dana, and obviously, you know, we've seen it there. But it was kind of like, oh, maybe they're not going to do it
tonight. Yeah.
But we all kind of had the idea it was done, it was dusted. But then when it actually was announced, you did get excited. You got really excited. You always get excited for those big fight announcements.
John, who didn't get excited?
Nate Diaz didn't get excited.
Nate
Yeah,
got a little upset.
yeah. We'll talk about that about later. Let's talk about this fight.
No, I want to talk about it.
No,
now.
let's talk about this
Yeah.
fight.
So, number one, a lot of people were pissed off that they used the New York footage of the dolly. And
Yeah.
they were always going to use that.
Does that make it right though?
But does it make it wrong? It's unbelievable. It's a backstory to the fight.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't care, to be honest. At this point, I don't care. Just because
The man has served his time.
the man has served his
paid
time. Now
the
let's
fine.
let's use that as a promotion.
100%. You
No.
knew if that fight was ever going to happen.
There was no.
But, right, the fight. Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
Dana White will always say about Conor McGregor, he will fight whoever, whenever. He hasn't fought MMA when it comes to that in 693 days
Yeah.
when he beat Matrix-styled Eddie Alvarez. So he is returning, and it's not a layup fight.
No.
He's fighting an absolute killer in Khabib.
Yeah, I think you have to give him credit with that, and that's something that I think you always kind of have to give him credit. And Dana White always says that he'll fight anybody. I think that's true to an extent. I think he'll fight anybody, as in he's not afraid to fight anybody, or he doesn't care if the fight isn't a favourable matchup. I do think though that he's picky and choosy about the people he fights just on a monetary level.
Yeah, I think he wants to go up a level each time.
Exactly,
The
yeah.
only one that I'd say he didn't go up a level was, no disrespect to old Dennis Seaver there, but, you know,
Oh yeah,
Dennis
that was a means to an end though.
means to an end.
Yeah.
But, yeah,
I mean, at this point
he
in
wants
his
to
career.
eclipse, and it is. The number one fight is Khabib Nurmagomedov.
Yeah.
Like, I think if he came back and the fight was Nate Diaz, it'd be like, yeah, it'd still get hype,
Oh, 100%.
third match,
Yeah.
but it's like, you know, come on.
It would just
You've
be-
lost your belt to Khabib through being stripped.
Exactly, yeah.
So this is the fight.
It would look like he was avoiding a fight.
Yes.
It would. It would look like he's
But
avoiding
2
it.
years off. Big Irish balls. Taking that
Yeah,
fight.
big Irish balls. It's a very difficult fight to come back with, and
Unbelievable.
yeah, a whole lot of respect from McGregor. Like, I'm not going to put the jinx on it, but I hope it happens. Yeah, it's probably the toughest fight that he could have, and now it's the toughest fight that he could have coming back. Worst style matchup according to 100% of the planet. And I agree with it. It's probably the worst style matchup he could possibly have. So fair play to him for coming back, because you are right. Like, if they done the Nate Diaz fight, maybe he'd make the same amount of money. So
Yes.
you know, it is like maybe a little bit less, but
we
it's not,
just
you know.
spoke to Darren Till about legacy,
Yeah,
and this, I believe, is a legacy fight. Do you know what I mean? This is Rocky Balboa going
it's two
to
boards.
Russia to
It's
fight
two
Dolph
board-
Lundgren.
Yeah, it's two boards, one stone almost. It's a legacy fight, and I think he'll get back in the good graces with a lot of people, because a lot of people do have a problem with what McGregor has done kind of up to now. Like, he hasn't defended his titles.
But one thing,
But he also gets a shit ton of money coming back with this
Yeah.
one as well.
But,
So
like,
it's two boards, one stone.
one thing I'd say about a lot of people as well is a lot of people have forgot just how good Conor McGregor
Oh,
is.
100%, yeah.
They see all the, like, the Mayweather madness that went on, grand, right? The boxing fight, grand. But then after that, all the Bellator jump in the cage, the dolly at the bus, and all this sort of the party lifestyle of Conor McGregor and all that sort of stuff. He's a fucking young fella from Crumlin who's a multi-millionaire. What did you think was going to happen? He was going to live it up. He's
Does
going to
that
enjoy
make it right,
himself.
though?
Doesn't make it wrong, Rob. No, he's young and he's living his life. He's a young, beautiful family. He's living his life. Live the dream. You're a millionaire. Enjoy it.
Yeah, but don't
now,
throw stuff through a bus window.
Don't throw things through a bus window. Learn that lesson. But he's coming back now, and this is my point: is that I think a lot of people have forgot just how
You
good.
almost have forgot.
If you go back onto Fight Pass, if you're still subscribed, if not, go on to MMAcore.com and type in Conor McGregor, Eddie Alvarez, and rewatch that fight. Now, you would have seen Dustin Poirier beat Eddie Alvarez recently, and you've seen others beat Eddie Alvarez, but nobody
but
done
MMA
what
Matt's
Conor
coming in.
McGregor done to Eddie Alvarez. Nobody has done that.
That's true.
I just think
That's what makes this fight so good, I think.
and what's amazing, like, Khabib's grappling, and Brendan Darman will be listening to this going, shut the fuck up now. But Khabib, he isn't your stereotypical double leg takedown guy from the outside.
No.
He works his way in, and that makes him susceptible to the Celtic Cross. The flim flam and the Celtic Cross are going to be no, but
I know what you mean, yeah.
he's susceptible to them shots. We've seen him get hit. I don't fall into the category, although I love winding Brendan Dorman up about it. that he was rocked by Michael Johnson.
No.
I don't fall into that category.
He was hit by Michael
But
Johnson.
if Conor McGregor lands that shot that Michael Johnson landed, he could put Khabib out.
Yeah,
and that's
100%.
what's amazing about this fight is that Khabib, if he gets it to the ground, yeah, you're swimming in his pool. But if you stay standing with Conor McGregor, you're in serious trouble. As well, another note, if you think in the last 2 years that Conor McGregor is just been partying and doing whatever, you are insanely wrong. He's training constantly. Like Dylan Dennis is now living and is Conor's right hand man in Dublin. His jiu-jitsu is going to be on point. He's now a brown belt under John Kavanagh. So I do think there's facets there that could come into. I'm not going to say he's going to tap out
No. Don't do
Khabib,
that.
but he could do enough to get himself back on the feet and that type of thing.
Potentially.
I think it's an insanely beautiful fight, and I cannot wait to watch it.
Yeah, it's one of them things where no matter how much Conor works on his grappling, there's no way he's going to out-grapple Khabib. It's just not going to happen. But that's not what he needs to do. He needs to find a way to not grapple with Khabib. That's the big one.
If Khabib plays the game that he played with Alec Quinta and
Which
wants
he
to
won't.
try and... No, he won't.
Yeah.
But if he does... Like, the only chance you could say Alec Quinta had in that fight was for him to stand with him.
Yeah.
And he did stand with him.
Yeah.
So if he does that against McGregor...
Well, yeah, we spoke about that. We spoke about that fight before. Like, Aloy Quinta was in a complete defensive wrestling shell, and that's why he didn't land any shots. And Khabib done a fairly decent job in striking defense. Fairly decent. Not, like, to the level that you need to do against Conor. But yeah, Aloy Quinta was in a complete wrestling stance. Conor isn't going to do that. Conor's going to be loose, and he's going to be trying to strike. He's going to be defensively sound, I'm sure. But Khabib's not going to be able to just jab him up, or he's not going to try fight like that. He's going to be going for takedowns. So it really is, I think, that, you know, it's not as simple as, oh, can he stop the takedown and he wins? It's not really like that. But, you know, if he keeps it on the feet, Khabib could be in a huge amount of trouble. He really could.
And, like, the mad thing about it is the build-up is going to be fucking mental.
It's going to be insane.
It's
five weeks. Is it 5 weeks?
I can't wait. No, it's longer than 5 weeks. What are we now? August. It's October.
8 weeks or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I can't wait. And it's like, it is quite funny. You've seen it straight away on all social media. Just McGregor, he just escalates everything.
It's great for MMA. It's great for us. It's great for anybody that covers the sport. And if you are any way involved with MMA and you hate this, then I don't know why. Like I understand like that you'd hate what he done while he was out. You know, that Dolly thing, we spoke about it on the show after.
Yeah, it was disgusted by it.
It was disgusted. But, you know, at what point do you have to say, okay, he done that and now let's move on and let's watch him fight? I just want to watch him fight now, personally.
Well, yeah, now we're starting, like, now we have a confirmed date to see what we love. And that's Conor McGregor with 4-ounce gloves on, knocking people from Russia out. No, but we are going to see...
Such a troll.
I know I am a troll. And Brendan's not even here.
Yeah.
No, but we get to see Conor in the environment we want to see him in. Fighting.
Yeah.
And he's
against the guy he should fight.
When
the fight that we want to see.
When Khabib beat Edson Barboza, I posted, I can't remember, it was one of them, and I posted, that is the best lightweight in the world. Nobody beats him. Now enter Conor McGregor.
And we'll see.
I think it's an incredibly good fight. It's insane. The build-up is going to be amazing. There's going to be so many amazing sound bites from Conor and Khabib. Khabib is amazing at trash talking.
Oh, he's great.
So there's going to be that whole aspect of it. It's going to be insane. Interestingly, Ray Borg is on the card.
Oh, yeah.
He's not allowed near Conor McGregor until 2020.
Weird. They'll have to sort that out. I don't know. What's great about the fight as well is obviously how dominant they both are. But, like, I think you're right. Like, I think Khabib is the best lightweight in the world right now. I do. And if you had to push me for a pick right now, I'd say Khabib. Now, I obviously have to watch stuff back. I need to think about it. And I'll see where I come by, you know, the week before the fight. But people do forget just how good Conor is. And the things that Khabib does to people on the ground, Conor's been doing that to people on the feet for a long time. The Eddie Alvarez fight is obviously the one that stands out. Nobody does that to Eddie Alvarez. Dustin Poirier finished him, and it finished him really, really well. Didn't really look like that. Like, Conor didn't get hit once. It's the same with even Poirier when he beat Poirier. I know that was a long time ago. Same with a lot of fighters. So people kind of forget how good he is. And if he does land that left hand on Khabib, and then Khabib starts reaching for takedowns, and then it starts getting a little bit... like he's really, really reaching for takedowns. Who knows what happens? Really, who knows what happens?
I ask you a question right now. can you see Conor McGregor sitting on top of the cage with the belt hung in the air again? And that's the thing about this fight.
But it's MMA as well.
No, but this is the thing about the fight. And as much as my man Dorman will find it hard to say this, you can 100% see Conor McGregor knocking Khabib Nurmagomedov out. And that's what is so intriguing about this fight. Because I can also see Khabib holding Conor down and beating the snot off.
Yeah.
And I can see both of them coming out. And that's what's so intriguing about this fight.
And you could probably make a good argument for both. Probably a little bit easier for Khabib, to be honest. Like, you probably had to make an easier argument to say Khabib takes him down.
Starts on the feet, Robert.
No, but like,
it starts on the feet.
If you write down, if you had a list of why Khabib wins, why Conor wins, you probably would have a few more on Khabib. Just
if you were Doctor Strange and you were looking into the future and you could see all the outcomes,
how many permutations?
How many permutations can you see of Conor winning?
To be honest, I think it's like right now it's probably like 60-40, something like that.
It's a great fight.
Yeah, it's a great fight.
It's a huge fight, and a huge fight for the UFC, a huge fight for fans, and a huge fight for Irish MMA. Don't forget big that fight. Again, is that Irish MMA is huge as it is in this country, but when Conor McGregor steps back in there, it's a shot of adrenaline. And I think like you might get this in America. You might experience, like Brad or whoever lives down the road. It's just a stereotypical American name, isn't it? Chuck and Brad, who live down the road. They might start talking. Hey, this Conor McGregor guy's fighting again. We're losing listeners as I go.
What are you doing?
Here in Ireland, that is multiplied by 1 million. Like, come fight week, you will have everyone saying, "What time's Conor fighting on Saturday night?"
Yeah.
And then you'll have people at 10 o'clock on, "I'm knackered, what time's the fight, Anna?" And that's what we deal with here, isn't it? 100%.
Big time, yeah.
And you'll have people texting you that you've never known what they can't spell MMA, never mind, watch it. And they'll be there going, "Conor McGregor, what time's he fighting?" But that's why that's in. You might get one.
And the hot takes will be roasting.
Yeah, but this is what I mean. It's multiply what Conor McGregor brings to, it'll be all over the papers, it'll be all over Facebook,
everywhere,
everywhere, and it's just a huge injection.
It's great for
sport.
MMA in Ireland. It is
but outside of Ireland, I don't think you have any idea just how big Conor McGregor is for the sport here in Ireland. It's insane.
He really is the sport in a way.
He's the face of the sport.
But he is the sport. Like, if you think about fans that aren't casual fans in Ireland,
can you name another Irish MMA fighter?
Yeah,
they would probably struggle.
They'd struggle, So
these casual fans, not us, not the listeners.
No,
of this show.
There's a huge base in Ireland that love MMA, but I mean for the wider audience, it's kind of like I think I was speaking on the last live chat about this. It's kind of like Lance Armstrong. In cycling, I can't fucking name another cyclist.
Stephen Roach.
There you go. You got one. He's Irish, isn't he?
Stephen Roach, back in the fucking 80s and 90s.
Look at this.
Won a yellow jersey, I think, in the Tour de France.
See, I couldn't do it, but that's one. Name one more.
Cyclist.
There we go. He's struggling.
What's your man with the sideburns? What's his name?
I don't know. I don't know anymore. That's it.
I was actually watching cycling the other day. They were on the track. And one team starts this side, one team starts. It was actually quite interesting.
Was it?
I watched one race and turned it off.
Yeah.
But
Do you remember any of the names?
No, because there were teams.
Point proven.
There were teams.
Yeah, but it's a great fight.
Stephen Roach.
Can't wait.
Who else? I want to say Michael Kelly. That's what's.
We'll go with Michael Kelly. The most generic name ever. Probably a cyclist.
That's actually a great point that you're making, because cycling is so big and Tour de France is huge.
That's what we were saying. I was like, what's the biggest name in a sport relative to the sport's reputation, I suppose? And I think probably cycling, because I don't know anybody else but Lance Armstrong.
Yeah, but do you know Lance Armstrong from being a great cyclist, or do you know him from
Icarus?
Hopping, or
no, from being a cyclist,
hopping
obviously.
on Cheryl Crow, was that her name? That was his mom, wasn't it?
I didn't even know he was with her.
There you go.
The more you know.
Yeah, it's like, I suppose, Usain Bolt. Can you name any other modern day sprinter?
No. Just loads, like, obviously.
We're really going off on tangents. Golf! Tiger Woods!
Can you name one more? Let's move on.
Let's talk about the fights that happened at the weekend, Robert, I think. We're only going to, because we recording this, it was a bank holiday here in Eire.
Yeah, so you're seeing this on Wednesday. So.
Yeah, you're seeing this on Wednesday, so you're probably sick of hearing about some things. We'll probably talk a little bit about Chuck Mindenhall, about some of the parts of it. But just the fights itself, Rob.
The actual contests.
We actually both called the main event between TJ Dillashaw and Cody Garbrandt. What did you take from the fight? Were you surprised by it? And when you did it live up to the hype? Should it have been a rematch? Should it have happened? Many questions within one.
Yeah, where will I start? I wasn't surprised because I thought, if you go back and watch, I thought TJ was rightfully a favourite going in. I'm pretty sure it's the favourite, and I thought I was really confident in that TJ pick. Really, really confident. I was surprised a little bit that it seemed like Garbrandt didn't really make any adjustments.
I think he went backwards.
He went back. I think he went backwards as well. If you watch the ending sequence, it was almost the same combination. Garbrandt threw the same punch 3 times, and Dillashaw threw the same punch 3 times. But Dillashaw was throwing the same punch 3 times because he was countering the exact same combination that Garbrandt was throwing. And he said it before the fight, Garbrandt, when he throws his right hook, his left hand comes down. And that's what happened, and TJ finished him again. I think it's a bad style matchup for Garbrandt if he doesn't fill those holes. I think
Dwayne Ludwig was on Ariel Helwani's ESPN show, and he was saying he said it in the corner to Garbrandt,
to his coach.
Look, you need to fix this. You need to fix this.
Buchholz come out, who was the former, I think he was the head coach for a while at Team Alpha Male, and he said if Cody had the right coaching, he would. And that speaks
volumes.
Yeah, and I don't know what the coaching situation is like in Team Alpha Male. Of course, I don't. I'm over here in Dublin, but it does seem like they've regressed a little bit. Like, I think when Cody fought Dominic Cruz,
I wasn't saving you again.
Yeah, when Dominic fought Dominic Cruz, or when Cody fought Dominic Cruz, get there. That was the best we've ever seen him.
He looked fantastic.
And I know
Footwork,
Dwayne wasn't there,
movement.
but it seemed like Buchholz was there. It seemed like it was more of a settled situation. Danny Castillo is probably his head coach now. Yeah. So I don't know. It seemed like he regressed a little bit and he didn't fix the problems he had.
I asked Brendan during the week about fighting on emotion.
Yeah.
And Brendan said he uses that, and that's a tool that he uses fighting. I thought he used it too much.
I agree.
And when he landed, he did land. Was it a left hook that landed it? Because TJ has a nice mouse under the eye. But what surprised me about when he landed it, he just charged straight forward in a straight line. And he was winging his shots. It's something, again, Brendan will always talk about as well, is that he was swinging wide. And you're saying, TJ countered with the same shot 3 times, but his was a tighter. It was
a way tighter,
tighter version. He was like a looser hinge, and TJ was just brought in, so he had the shorter journey to the chin, and it landed. But I was just surprised Garbrandt didn't use any footwork, didn't use any head movement. It was like what you were saying. He tends to sit back and watch.
Yeah, wait for it.
He didn't do any of that really. No. I just thought TJ Dillashaw, as I thought, was going to come in a better. But TJ said he beat him in his own game, and he did beat him in his own game. He stood in the pocket with him and traded.
There was moments in there you're like, oh, TJ, don't do that. Don't stand in the pocket. Because
I think he regressed, Garbrandt.
In a way, at least he stagnated to what he was, and it's a shame.
It's something I said to you walking into work as well this morning. The rematch, I don't think the rematch should have happened because he beat him in such dominant performance. He knocked him out. Yeah. I know he got hurt at the end of the first round, TJ, but now all of a sudden Cody Garbrandt has gone from the champion to on a 2-fight losing streak, 2 heavy defeats as well,
to TJ, to the champ,
where he's going to start questioning his game. It reminds me, obviously to a higher level because he got up to the title, it reminds me a little bit of Mike Perry. Mike Perry was knocking people out for fun, and everyone just thought he was a fun fighter. All of a sudden he gets tested, he gets beaten, and all of a sudden he needs to go and change his game plan. And I think that's what Cody Garbrandt needs to do here. I think he needs to stand back, have a holistic view at what he's doing, and change something, because he's only young. Cody Garbrandt is only young, and we always say when you see a young fighter go away and come back, they've evolved, they've added something new to their armory and weaponry. Cody Garbrandt hasn't done that. To me, you're saying stagnant. I think he's regressed. He wasn't using. You look at when he beat Dominic Cruz.
Dominic Cruz is the weird outlier, though, isn't it? Because
that's almost.
It's a weird outlier because I need to go back and watch his fights, but like it seemed like Cody Garbrandt fought like the way he fought here most of the time. But because he's usually the faster guy, he has incredibly fast hands, and nobody has really been able to counter him.
Didn't look that fast on Saturday night.
They did look fast. They're just coming wide. I don't know. It's the Dominic one. I need to go back and watch the Dominic fight because that was the weird outlier where he almost looked like a Dillashaw.
Do you almost think that on the Cruz fight that maybe he just had the perfect night?
Maybe, I don't know.
But yeah, for me,
the talent is there.
he
but-
looks to regress. He just looks to be relying almost like a lot of big knockout fighters do. They
But also-
rely on that one shot.
But also TJ is incredible.
TJ's
incredible.
Carl O'Connell put it to me today in work. He said, "Is TJ Dillashaw the best fighter in the UFC right now?" He first of all put this pound for pound.
Yeah,
out.
no,
I don't stand
I
for
mean-
that. Stick him in there with Stipe Miocic. He'll knock that little fucker out. But is he the best fighter in his weight classes through all the weight classes right now?
Maybe. Hard to say.
Your co-main event seen a decision that upset people.
Yeah.
A lot of people are upset. We seen the most dominant champion in UFC history, Demetrius Johnson, on the end of a split decision loss to the Olympic gold medalist Henry Cejudo. I know Brendan was very disappointed in this, and he tweeted it, as Brendan does. One thing I said about the fight when I was asked fresh off watching it, must admit, haven't watched it back. I forcefully said takedowns win fights. As soon as I start seeing the takedowns, and you could hear Cejudo's corner calling out times to him, you could hear all that. It was a very strategical fight by Henry Cejudo. He got the takedowns. He didn't do much with them. He didn't pass. He didn't attempt submissions. But almost like wrestling or a jiu-jitsu match, when he got the takedown, he solidified the position by holding him down, and that's a score. And it's up to Demetrius Johnson to get up. Yes, the old rule said if you're not advanced, or the new rule said, I should say, you're not advancing, you're not scoring. But I still think judges, it's easier to see me taking you down and keeping you on the ground as a dominant position. So I can see where the fight was scored. You could give 2, 4, 5
Something like that,
to Cejudo because of the takedowns. I can see why it was given, but as we said walking to work today, if this was a fight on the street, DJ won that fight.
Yeah,
he walked away going, he beat him up, but it's not. There's a scoring criteria.
Yeah.
I didn't think we were going to get out of the first round when DJ was landing them beautiful leg kicks and caused damage that Cejudo was rolling his ankle. And I was very surprised that the truck at the UFC didn't pick up that it was from these kicks. It was like a deadening of the leg, like almost nerve damage or muscle damage that just shut his leg off. But you got to give credit to Henry Cejudo for even staying in the fight at that stage.
Yeah, like huge credit. I scored it to DJ, but it's not one of them ones that I felt like it was a crazy robbery. I do think, for me, in my mind, it was a clear decision for DJ. I thought he'd done the better work. I thought he landed he'd done the more damage, I thought. Obviously to the leg, and even on Henry's face was a bit beat up a little bit. But it's kind of what we said going in, that if you're going to beat DJ, it's going to be by out-positioning him. It's going to be getting on top. It's going to be by working him a little bit. Because when's the last time you've seen Demetrius hurt by anything? I think the last time I really remember him being hurt was probably, Dodson. I think he got hit by a couple of shots by Dodson. But even then, he wasn't really hurt. If you want to beat DJ, you have to have a really good game plan, which Cejudo did. Get positions on him, which Cejudo did. And wrestle him. And that's the only time we've ever seen Demetrius lose rounds was in wrestling. And he's a great wrestler. It's just he's a smaller guy. If you can get on top and you can get positions on him, you're going to win the rounds. And that's obviously how Cejudo won the rounds. I don't have big complaints about the decision. It was a little bit underwhelming in terms of like.
I thought it was an exciting fight.
No, it was really exciting, but it's just like Demetrius loses his title like that. It's a bit like it doesn't feel like Demetrius lost a fight.
And you know what the mad thing
what
about
it
it
is.
is, it was Michael Chiesa actually put it up saying on Sub Underground.
That was the one.
There was a forum about he was overrated and stuff like that.
Yeah, somebody said, I think
the scrambles when Cejudo got him down. Some
he's
of them
incredible.
major, and as well, he's saying that his LCL and his foot is broke. His
Yeah,
LCL
see his
is
foot?
torn
Looked
and
like
his
someone
foot
blew
is
it up.
broken. I can argue. Like, I can see the fight being given to DJ. And this whole, I never fall for this. You have to take the belt away from the champion.
No,
Like, that doesn't fall.
You
for
win
me.
the fight.
If you win the fight, you win the fight. But like, as much as he outstruck him, he never hurt him. He never really
That's
had
the
him
thing,
wobble.
yeah.
He never put him on really on the back foot. A lot of it was Cejudo sort of controlling the center of the cage and stuff.
Do you think Cejudo lost a little bit of stock when he said, "Oh no, I want to fight TJ"? I don't know. I didn't like that.
Well, look, he's looking at the money fight.
Oh, 100%.
We're in the money era.
But similar,
Forget
it's
the best
almost
era.
similar to the Woodley thing. Remember when Woodley won the title?
Well,
It's like, oh no, where's GSP? It's like,
Well, look, if DJ is fit and able-bodied in a couple of, if
It should
by the
happen.
time if anyone warrants a rematch,
oh man, if he doesn't get a
Demetrius
rematch,
Johnson. And it's a rubber match.
if he wants it, he's ready and fit and good to go, and he doesn't get a rematch,
Man, though.
that would be the biggest travesty ever.
talk to me about Henry Cejudo. went from getting absolutely dominated from Demetrius,
incredible
getting
improvements.
done in one.
That's a supreme athlete.
And it was what DC said in commentary. He went from finishing last in like the Worlds or something.
Yeah,
like that,
to become an
to
Olympian.
11 months later
Gold
winning
Olympian.
gold in the Olympics. You put up a great thing today actually about
The Olympians.
the
Yeah,
Olympians, 57 and 4.
57 and 4. Yeah, Daniel
Some
Cormier.
record, isn't it?
Who else?
Askren,
Moko,
Ben Askren.
Ben Askren, and Cejudo.
Yeah,
Madness.
pretty impressive.
Renato Moicano, Theo Cub Swanson, rear naked choke. Dark horse.
Oh, I can't remember what I tweeted. I tweeted something epic.
Not to pat myself on the back, but
Yeah.
I tweeted something epic.
Epic. No, but oh man, he looked. Oh fuck! I feel like his transition when he got him
beast.
down. How he had the choke. You could see Cub was adjusting in the transition with the hand fighting, tied up the body triangle, and got it in and just cranked.
And he's a phenomenal striker as well.
Oh man, he just.
That guy is absolutely talented. Like, if you put him in there now with Brian Ortega or with Max Holloway,
what I
I'll
said.
have to think about it.
I said Moicano is the real deal. If Max is out for a while, I'll happily watch Ortega and him
Yeah.
run it back.
Do
And
it
you got to
again.
look at it, as we said, he had Max Holloway hurt.
He had Ortega hurt.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was gonna say Max Holloway.
Yeah, no, excellent fighter.
Sorry, I'm really-
Just belt through the rest of the card because you want to move on.
Time is of essence.
Yeah,
JJ Aldridge, Rob, you called it.
Called it.
One of
underdog.
your parlay bets.
Yeah, unfortunately, the other one, which was Kevin Holland, went to a decision. Looked good though. Sure, now it was a 3-1.
Oh man,
Some close moments in
Kevin
that.
Holland is fun, but my God, Thiago Santos, the hammer of Thor on
Yeah,
his
he
chest for holy fuck, he threw everything at him.
Yeah, it was insane.
But
Kevin
Kevin Holland
Holland-
looks fun, but man, I think you got to drop 170.
Yeah, he's a bit-
big, wiry. He's
wiry,
real,
yeah.
insanely unorthodox. Saying this sucks, stop punching me so
Yeah.
hard.
And he was like,
Almost
"Have an
got the
idea."
armbar.
Yeah, he's good. He's talented.
He is
and
good.
He only had 3 weeks to get prepared for a
Took on
top
short
10.
notice. And big respect by Thiago Santos after the fight.
Yeah,
as
big
well.
respect.
How Pedro Muniz and Brett Johns did not get fight of the night is
Yeah.
beyond
Great fight.
me.
Absolutely phenomenal fight. Brett Johns,
Brett Johns,
tough as all hell.
a
as they say.
dragon.
Yeah, a dragon. Yeah. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
The Welsh
How, like,
dragon.
that second round, it falls under one of them. So you don't like MMA. Come here till I show you
Yeah,
something,
yeah.
and stick
Excellent
on
fight.
round 2.
Anything else?
Incredible fight.
Stand out for you. Alex Perez is knockout
Alex Perez,
of
yeah,
prospect.
yeah, big knockout.
Yeah.
Torres, that's what happens, man.
Yeah.
When you say something or like something on Noel's Instagram, it's the effect. Weili Zhang didn't get a finish. We bigged her up.
Yeah.
She didn't get the finish.
Ah, well.
The kiss of death.
Yeah.
Brendan Dorman.
sure.
Yeah, so she's got 16 wins all time
Yeah,
by
yeah.
finish. Can't wait to see this girl. Yeah.
She was good, though. She was
She
good.
was good, yeah.
Yeah.
My fight pass, see, my Visa card expired.
Oh,
so
yeah.
my fight pass, I've got a new card. And I'm like, I'm not fucking paying for fight pass. Fuck that shit. But it only comes Saturday night. I'm sitting there going,
Should have paid for fight pass.
I wish I had fight pass.
Yes. Anyway, let's do the overtime edition of Quickfire News.
Yeah, the
so,
overtime.
or the over drawn. I don't know what you want to call it.
I don't know. Rob.
So we have loads of news that we want to talk about with Chuck Mindenhall. But there's also a shit ton of news that come out as well between the last show and this show, which we want to talk about. We can't fit it all in a half an hour with Chuck Mindenhall. So let's talk about it now.
And you'd be glad to know, people, that the old clock, the
Between the old clock,
Noel
the new clock.
the new Noel Reliable clock, it's here in studio, ready to go. And the official bracket has been released for Bellator's welterweight tournament. It's been confirmed that all bouts will have 5 round affairs, and the welterweight title, currently held by Rory McDonald, will be on the line throughout the tournament. The eventual winner will be the Bellator welterweight and Grand Prix champion. So, the opening rounds. Oh, God.
I'll get them here.
Yeah,
Right? I'll get
gotta
them.
zoom in on that.
So on the left side of the bracket, you have Douglas Lima versus Andrei Koreshkov. You also have Paul Daly against MVP, the fight that we finally are going to get. Then on the right side of the bracket, so the first title fight will be John Fitch against Rory McDonald. And then Ed Root, who's a big prospect, against Neiman Gracie, who's a prospect as well. So the first title fight, you also have Lorenz Larkin against Amosov in the alternate bout. So the first title fight in the tournament, which is, I love this concept, is John Fitch against Rory McDonald. Ding, ding, ding.
Rory McDonald's going to beat the brakes off John
Yeah.
Fitch. It's man, Rory McDonald. But like we talked about it when it happened. It should be like Rory McDonald should not enter this tournament, lose a fight, and still be the champion of the division.
Yeah, it's
Makes
at
no sense.
welterweight.
But
You know,
at the same time, it's fucking badass.
it's
for Rory
badass. Yeah,
McDonald.
yeah. Put the title up.
Like they haven't announced where these fights are happening. Have they? Are they going to do it like the Bellator heavyweight tournament?
I
where
hope not. I
it's
hope they're a bit closer.
dotted all over.
I
the
hope
place?
they at least have the rounds, you know, say the right side of the bracket on the same card, the left side of the bracket on the same card, and space them out maybe 2 events max between each other. Because to me, the heavyweight tournament doesn't even feel like a tournament anymore. It really doesn't.
No.
It doesn't. It feels like, you know, just fights. It feels like a heavyweight fights with some middleweights and some fucking light heavyweights in it.
So, kind of put it on you now. Who's going to come out of this as the
Will
welterweight
we
champion?
go through it? So, Paul Daly MVP.
MVP.
I'm going to go MVP. So then he will fight the winner of Douglas Lima, Andrei Koreshkov.
Douglas Lima. I like Douglas Lima.
Yeah, so we have Lima against MVP in the semi-finals. On the right side of the bracket, Neiman Gracie, Ed Root. I'm going to go Ed Root.
If Gracie gets him down, he'll Gracie him. Gracie. Go on.
Okay, we'll go with Gracie for you. We'll go with your picks.
No.
Yeah, we'll go with your picks. John Fitch and Rory McDonald.
John Fitch.
Rory McDonald.
Yeah.
So then you have the semi-final match between MVP and Lima.
Lima. Too much experience from him.
So you have Lima in the finals, Rory McDonald and Gracie.
Rory McDonald.
So you have Rory McDonald and MVP in the finals, unless there's an alternate.
I said Lima will have too much for MVP.
Sorry, yeah, Lima and Rory McDonald, and we have a rematch.
Rematch.
So Rory.
Yeah.
Rory wins.
Yeah, I think Rory wins. No need to watch it now, folks. That's being confirmed.
Done and dusted. And oh my lord, we hit the fucking bill.
Ah, great stuff. Great stuff.
Yeah. Will we see Ben Askren in the UFC? Askren. Dana White recently changed his tune on that happening somewhat in an appearance on UFC Unfiltered.
Damn, White changing his mind?
Dana said, quote, Ben Askren hit me up a few months ago and said, what are the odds we can talk about me getting into the UFC? And I said, we can absolutely talk about it. You need to send me a letter before I can even talk to you or meet you or do anything. I need a letter saying that you're a free agent and you're able to. He's not a free agent. He's under contract with ONE FC and he's going to have to fulfill his contract with them. Will Ben Askren, jeez, I can't even say Askren. Will Ben Askren finally make it to the UFC?
Yeah, I'd say one.
Yeah.
He's been such a good champion for one and a good fighter for one.
They let him go.
I'd say they let him go.
I think so too. Because, like, really, are the UFC and ONE competing really that much?
No.
ONE is in Asia and UFC only really go to Asia. So I don't see there being a big problem there.
No, and like I said, Askren has been such a good fighter for them. I don't see it. I wonder what the fight like, because it's something I talk about a little bit with Chuck. But like Askren, you know, I'd like to see Askren GSP. Like I think that's it's a great fight.
Yeah.
Like I think it's a super fight. It's a
Does
proper...
GSP want that fight?
No, because Askren will beat him.
Yeah, I just mean in terms of, like, it seems like GSP, even though he was always that guy that was, you know, champ, he'll fight anybody. You know, at this stage of his career, he wants big fights, and you can't blame him. Does he want Ben Askren? Like, Ben Askren, people are talking about Ben Askren as, like, this huge draw. I think it'd be a big draw just because all the hardcore fans will tune in for him.
Yeah, but you know the UFC will honey dick everyone.
They will.
If they
They
did
will.
sign, he'd be like the best fighter
Oh, yeah.
I've never fought. He'd be, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It'd be
yeah.
like what they would have done with Fedor. Dana
100%.
White shits on Fedor because he
Yeah.
never signed for him.
Yeah.
But if Ben Askren did come and fought under the UFC banner, they would roll out this never been beaten, undefeated,
Yeah,
blah,
yeah.
blah. He's beat the who of MMA. Can he beat GSP?
Yeah, if they promote him right, he'll be big. But is he really, like, you know, what's GSP's options? He could fight McGregor. He could fight Khabib. I don't know if it's quite that big. You know what I mean? I'd love to see him in the UFC, though.
I would. I'd love to see him.
I'd love to
It's
see it
just-
fine.
I
And he's
don't-
still great.
Like, again, Brandon Dorman, why aren't you here this week? You'd love me this week. I don't think GSP should be able to handpick who he wants to fucking fight. If you're coming back, they gave him the title fight against Bisbing and he fucked off. Do you know what I mean? He won the belt and fucked off. So, fuck off and fight who we're going to put you against. I'm saying fuck off now.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, this week on iTunes is R-rated.
Yeah.
Great though.
Up next.
Is Eddie Alvarez on his way out of the UFC? Dana White wouldn't necessarily reject it. I'd imagine you meant there, Rob.
Yep.
In the same appearance on UFC Unfiltered podcast, the UFC president said, quote, I like Eddie Alvarez. I like him personally, and I like him professionally.
Do the accent.
He's at an age now, I can't do Dana White's accent. He's at an age now where he needs to make some decisions for his family in what will probably be the last contract he signs for the rest of his career. You know, I'm going to place. If Eddie wants to go somewhere else, I'm cool with that. Wow. But if Eddie wants to stay, I'd keep him here too. I told him that. I told him, look, if you want to finish your career here with me, then I'd like that. And if you want to finish your career elsewhere with someone else, then I have no problem with that either, man.
Here's a pro tip. Press the bell there, yeah. Here's a pro tip. If you ever want to know who wrote the news, just watch Noel and listen to his reactions as he's reading the news, because he doesn't read it ahead of time. He just reacted to that. He goes, oh, wow.
Yeah, but I do that for authenticity in my reaction.
Sure, yeah, sure.
Rob.
It's not laziness at all.
No, it is planned. Eddie Alvarez, yeah, it's like Eddie Alvarez is in a weird place now because he's not going to fight for the title again.
Yeah, New York's crazy, isn't it?
It's,
Oh, it's a terrible joke.
but he's not going to fight for the title again, and go to Japan and
Yeah, to be honest,
beat
yeah.
up Jamaians.
To be honest, it sounds weird when you say it like that, doesn't it? But it's all in good faith.
Yes.
I know what you mean. Like, to be fair to Eddie Alvarez, he could probably make just as much money fighting elsewhere than he can in the UFC. I know his UFC contract is probably pretty big now. But if he went to, like, say...
Yeah, but you see, it's pretty big now, but coming off that loss...
He has to re-sign. He has to re-sign.
Yeah. Imagine a knot might go.
But it's also... It seems to me that it's a Dana White tactic of, we want to keep you, you know.
Cuddly bear Dana White,
we want to keep you, Eddie.
Hey,
we really do. Come talk to us, and we'll offer you a contract. Yeah. But just know that
it's
we
shit.
will.
It's
we will.
shit.
Yeah, it's shit.
It's absolutely shit.
Yeah. Remember all that money you were making?
Yeah.
Not anymore.
That's gone now.
Yeah. No pay-per-view points for you.
No. Underground King, toughest man in MMA, huh? Yeah. 15 win, 15 show. Good luck.
Definitely not that.
No, but Eddie Alvarez, all joking aside, Eddie Alvarez, we were talking about one with Ben Askren. Eddie Alvarez could easily go over fighting Ryzen. Yeah. There's plenty of promotions.
And make some nice bank.
Exactly.
And he's also not afraid to do that. He spent so much time outside the UFC. He's not like...
He's had an unbelievable career. Yeah. He was always saying what could he do if he got to the UFC.
Legend.
He came to the UFC, became a champion.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's no...
Became a champion in probably not his prime. You know, the end of his prime. Well done. Last piece of news, Bellator 204 goes down this Friday night and features Darian Caldwell against Noad Loat in the main event. But in the big Irish interest of the night, it's a fight between James Gallagher and Ricky Bandages.
You'll need them after the fight, what?
Hey. How big is this fight for Irish MMA?
I reached out to James today to see could he come on the show, but unfortunately he hasn't seen my message. So James might message me after. No problem. How embarrassing. Huge fight because if you have been paying attention to Bellator, they have signed everybody in Ireland. I was afraid with the Brave picture.
Who's this guy? Is this guy a heavyweight? We need heavyweights.
This guy with the Brave. See the Brave heavyweight champion. Sign him up. But yeah, Bellator have signed a lot of Irish fighters. James Gallagher is obviously the tip of the spear, where he is. This is a number one contenders fight. If he was to beat Bandages, he is going to get a title fight. Can't be. I'm going to say it's Banjays. That's where we're going with. But yeah, Gallagher, huge. I think we have to stop saying prospect with James Gallagher. James Gallagher is a legit fighter.
Yeah.
And this gives him, if he wins this fight, yes, he's bringing Bellator back to Ireland, back to Dublin's Three Arena, and he will have a world title fight here in Dublin.
Potentially, yeah. What's your phone there? Yeah. Potentially,
James
he's 7-0 now. I wish though he was a little bit more active, and that's obviously because of injuries that he had. Yeah. If he was more active now, he could be, easily have 10 fights or so. I think he would need probably one more before he gets a title fight. But it wouldn't surprise me if the UFC if
you
Bellator.
Have James open in front of you there. This is first.
I don't have it open, but I will get it. But yeah, it's huge for Irish MMA, and it's huge for SBG, to be fair, because SBG is on a bad run in the UFC, or kind of at the higher levels. They haven't had a really big win. The last probably big win they had, or at least the last notable one, was the Tough winner. who obviously moved
Brad
over.
Katona, yeah.
Brad Katona, who obviously moved over to fight with SPG. So apart from that, there hasn't been some really big name wins, and it seems like Jabs Gallagher is the guy that, you know, will bring them on.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Oh,
Jesus, so unprofessional.
just an added ding-a-ling-a-ling.
Yeah. Just to be sure that's really over.
Yeah, just to be sure that our Fight Talk news has come to a conclusion.
Yeah.
Noel is
More
doing
news.
this classic, the leg tactic, where he sounds like he's just filling airtime, but he's looking to see what is next on the agenda. But I'm delighted to say the man in the hat is back. The Ringer MMA Fighting's Chuck Mindenhall joins us once again. So welcome back to obviously Fight Talk, and we are joined by the man in the hat, the Ringer and MMA Fighting's Chuck Mindenhall. So Chuck, thanks again for coming on to obviously Fight Talk.
Of course, thanks fellas. Happy to be back.
I was actually, I didn't realise this week, because Rob tends to book people and I tend to
Do nothing.
do nothing. But I didn't realise you were on, and this week I thought it was next week. And I was reading a lot of your articles this week as well, and I love the article you done for the Ringer as well, and how you almost envisaged McGregor's comeback and the presser as almost like Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner, and all the family are around.
Right.
But let's talk Conor McGregor, Khabib Nurmagomedov. Firstly, for me with the presser, did you think the UFC and Dana done Diaz dirty, maybe, or the fighters on the stage?
I mean, not really, but you know, you're watching this thing unfold, and you know, right off the top, Dana White is basically saying, "Yeah, we don't have anything yet, but we're going to make that fight." He's kind of teasing it because he wants it to be a big reveal at the end, which was fine. You know, that was kind of cool, but. You know, Nate Diaz coming back after 2 years himself, and I think obviously he's kind of the B side of that McGregor rivalry, and you know, he's getting this moment, and he's getting the pop. The spotlight's really about him in a lot of ways, because I thought he was the star of that particular press conference, and then all of a sudden they show the McGregor, you know, that promo, and they're actually highlighting the dolly footage and everything else, like you knew they would, and you know, you can almost understand to an extent why any of those guys might be a little bit mad about something like that, but especially a guy like Nate Diaz. And I don't know like everything that goes on behind the scenes, but man, I tell you what, it's fun to have both of those guys back, because it just makes for such great theater, man. Just even things like that, just knowing that they've got a date circled again. I felt like. You know, it felt like you're watching your garden grow again. Everything around you starts to blossom. So I'm just glad that they're back.
Do you think that they could have done something a little bit more for Nate Diaz, considering like the big announcement they done with Conor? And obviously it's a little bit different for Conor and Khabib, but like they kind of just announced Nate Diaz was fighting Dustin Poirier. I think it was on Twitter or something. Do you think they could have at least went about it a bit more theatrical, like what they did?
I feel like we're always stuck in this very this strange divide between how the public views where Nate Diaz is as a star versus where the UFC views Nate Diaz as a star, and so to us, especially the media, I think we're all like, you know, Nate Diaz is one of the stars of the show, and it's almost like there's this huge reluctance on the UFC's part to ever truly acknowledge that, because even when they were mentioning, you know, Dana was talking a little bit about Nate on that podium. He's like, you know, Nate is here. He'll be here in a minute. Big pop in the crowd, and he's just like, you know, it's good to have Nate back, but it's very subdued. You know what I mean? And of course he's fighting Dustin Poirier, who, from inside our circle, is a really good fighter, and we know how good he is, but I don't know how much he translates to the larger world, kind of like like Diaz does. So just not as many bells and whistles. I don't know how else you could have done it, unless they could have gotten Nate Diaz, somebody who you know, just had, you know, some kind of similar bearings as him, you know, going into it. Maybe it would have been a little bit more, but I think the Dustin Poirier, because it's a great fight. I love the fight. It's a hard fight for Nate. It's probably, you know, it's a fight he should lose, really, but you know, maybe it's just not the biggest name or something like that for him to come back to. Maybe that was a little surprising, but ultimately, man, when I heard that news, I personally was like, we're going to finally get the gauge to know is the UFC correct? Is he not the needle mover that we think, or are we correct in thinking like, no, I think that he grew as a star through that McGregor series. So again, man, I think it's just going to be interesting to see it. But I know it felt good to see him back in there, man. It was. I did get some goosebumps kind of watching him square off. I was like, yeah, it's been too long.
What I find with Nate is it's almost, to use an analogy, because you always tend to use analogies, it's almost like again at a family gathering, there's the child that, you'll say hello to and you'll rustle their hair, and when he runs off, he's a little shit, because he's going to be out the back digging holes in your garden or doing something. And it's almost like Nate is like that, because he is a fan favourite for how he behaves, but that behaviour costs him the affection of his employers. He's like the fun guy who'll say the wrong thing in the office and cause offence. I can relate. But at the same time, the people around him and the fans love him for that. Yeah. But that's what costs him somewhat.
True. I still think the UFC just doesn't quite know. It's how it is, man. Like, I feel like McGregor can get by with just about anything right now. Obviously, we just saw the UFC didn't do much in terms of reprimanding him for his actions. Which you knew they probably wouldn't, but I feel like Nate Diaz is, I actually put in the piece, this is the one part they took out that I wish they had left in was, I was using that kind of dysfunctional family analogy, and I was like, Nate has always suspected he was adopted, I was like, it just kind of, it struck me that kind of made sense, but to me, it's kind of like that, like he belongs there, but he doesn't, he wants to be part of the family, but he doesn't, and it's just this kind of, give and take with him at all times. And he's just a raw and I think it's his innocence, honestly, sometimes, because I think he, a lot of what he's saying, you realize there's some kind of sensitivity issue at the back of it. Maybe he's not being as respected as he thinks or something like that. There's also money issues, but that's part of the prize fighting package. But I do feel like a lot of times it's just things like respect and, getting his feelings a little more hurt than people realize he will be. So it's always very interesting, man, isn't it? Like when you see when him and Dana start coming together again.
Yeah. Do you have any fear that he won't actually fight? Because he did tweet that, I'm not fighting. But like it seems like nothing has happened since. It's like he said that Dana was like, we'll see what happens. He'll fight, I'm sure. Like, do you have any fear that he won't do it?
He fires off the cuff like that so much that I'm like, not really. I saw it and you think like, wow, that was immediate. We just saw him and then all of a sudden the fight's in doubt. But I don't really think the fight is in doubt. It's such a huge fight in so many ways because honestly, I look at it a little bit like it's a 4-man tournament because of the dates aligning so flush, basically October 6th and November 3rd. So, whoever wins that the Nurmagomedov McGregor fight could be just sitting in the wings basically for the winner of that fight. So it's a huge fight. It's in Madison Square Garden. I know he's going to make a lot of money. So at the bottom line is no. I mean, I think it's just Nate being Nate, and he'll be there, come fight night. Dustin Poirier seemed to right away believe that too. I don't think too many people were overly worried that he wouldn't show up or something like that.
I like that there was actually a picture from of Poirier tweeting the same thing. Yeah, I'm not fighting. And then
Brett Okamoto.
Brett Okamoto. And then you've already said the same thing. Fuck that, I'm not fighting in Argentina. And Nate got onto him, started going, are you mocking me? And he was like, yeah, well, I beat the shit out of you before or whatever. And it was a little back and forth. So it just shows that even the stars pay attention to what Nate Diaz is saying. I agree with the 4-man tournament idea, but I think it depends on results. For example, if we were to look ahead and Conor McGregor was to defeat Khabib Nurmagomedov and Dustin Poirier, I think rightfully so, would be the favourite going in my eyes anyway, against Nate Diaz. If Poirier was to beat Diaz and Conor was to beat Khabib, I don't think Conor fights Poirier. Almost like what you were saying, Chuck, with Poirier mightn't have been the big name outside for Diaz to come back to. I don't see Conor. He's finished Poirier in the first round, and this is where the 3 letters of GSP, I think, will shine bright, and that's the bigger fight.
I agree with you 100%, man. And I think that would appeal, obviously, to a guy like McGregor, who's made it very clear he wants honestly, man, and I admire him tremendously. It all came back as he accepted this Nurmagomedov fight. But let's just say he gets through it and the GSP fight is out there. I don't think he would bat an eye at fighting GSP. Yeah. And I think a lot of people would be like, that's a horrible matchup for him and all that stuff. But, Conor McGregor seems to thrive on those types of doubts. Mm-hmm. And that's fun to have back in the rotation, man. I have to admit it. I love that's the whole thing that really drew me to him, and I'm sure a lot of other people, is just his fearlessness in terms of his self-belief and that sort of thing. So the bottom line is, in that scenario, I could see him as a businessman and as a person who loves to just take the most, the odds against him fight. So I could see the GSP one for sure. I don't think he'll fight Poirier again. No. I don't think the UFC would really... That's a tricky one, man, because he's changed the game in weird ways that his matchmaking at this point is always going to be kind of tailored to a big picture, something, not the small picture of the rankings, not the small picture of the meritocracy. It's going to always be a big picture. We don't know how long we have Conor. Put him in the biggest fights possible and maximize, especially if he's winning through these things, keep maximizing that star power.
Yeah. Do you have any problem that they used the dolly footage to promote this fight? They were obviously going to use it, but like we were talking earlier on, and I should not like it, but I just I'm forgetting about it. Just like, remember, he jumped the cage at Bellator, and we all just forget about that as well. So do you have any problem with them actually using that?
I don't, man. I knew they would do it. I knew they would do it. I remember when it was happening and Dana was like, it's disgusting and all this. I'm like, yes, but I think I tweeted it out at the time. I'm like, yeah, we'll wait to see if they use it in the actual promo package for when they make this fight, if they make this fight. And now we're to the point where, they announced the fight. And what is the best thing you can do is to show how much, how volatile the relationship is and put like a backdrop to people who haven't been paying close attention in the outside world, to show everything at once. I knew they would do something like it. I didn't know they'd make it as central as they did. I thought it would just be part of it, but they actually put it very central to the package. Yeah. And I'm not surprised. And honestly, it doesn't really bother me, man. It's the fight game. And I think I've told you guys before, it's like, the fun thing about writing about the fight game is that it's just a collection of fringe players ultimately who all have their very unique personalities. They have their flaws, they have their tempers, they have, their volatilities, and they bring it all together and you make something of it. And that's what Dana White, that's basically what the UFC is doing in this whole situation. And more power to him, man. Honestly, I'm glad nobody got truly hurt, because I think that would have been... Yeah. That would have changed things, but the fact that a couple fights were canceled and stuff, it ultimately just packs into Conor McGregor's legacy at some point. It just becomes just another part of his lore. You know what I mean?
100%. I remember us talking about it, and I remember I was sitting at home talking to my wife about it, and I was there going, I can't believe he's done this. It's so hard to cheer him on. Fast forward Friday evening, I'm sitting having dinner with my wife. The news breaks that Conor's back, and I jump up going, "The king is back!" Because she's like, "You are the most fickle."
Our own enthusiasm for him, you know what I mean? Because the bottom line is, through the 2 years, I've been mostly critical because, going through the Mayweather, nobody can fault him, but just the way, all the promises, I'm going to defend both belts and all this stuff, and loses the belts, and it does, you don't want to say he's ducking people, but you kind of think like, maybe he doesn't want the fight. He's waiting for the perfect scenarios and all this stuff. So I think if he had taken the trilogy fight with Nate Diaz, we would have had a different idea of this. 100%. But the fact that he came back to fight the guy, Nurmagomedov, and as long as everything, happens the way it should, that's right in keeping with the exact, white hot center of what makes Conor McGregor who he is. So I'm like, I feel like we just bridged that whole 2 years just like that. You know what I mean?
I think that's what it is, though. I think as well, not just that. It's like he takes this fight now, and the next time he has a free go at it, wherever he wants. He can fight anybody next, because people are like, he came back and fought Khabib. Let him fight Nate. Let him fight whoever he wants, or GSP. I think he kind of gets a free one with this.
There's so many scenarios in which he could fight Nate next. You know what I mean? I tell you, there's so many scenarios, but I feel like if Conor wins and Nate loses, probably not. You know what
that's
I mean?
Probably the only one,
any other scenario, I'm like, they could make a case for that fight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like if Conor goes in and gets beaten by Khabib and Diaz gets beaten by Poirier,
or wins against Poirier,
it's an easy rematch. Really, it is going to happen. Is this the biggest fight in UFC history? Will it do the biggest numbers?
I think so, man. It's the combination of Conor McGregor being who he is, but it's also the combination of him coming back having basically, I don't think he did himself too much harm. That's going to be the weird part, is to see if somehow his name is diminished ultimately as we get kind of rolling with the promotional effort because of the Mayweather stuff. But I honestly don't think it will. I think it will have enhanced it. And I think that the whole MMA world, which has lost so much enthusiasm over the last couple of years, and I just you see it reflected in the numbers and everything else, and the inundation of the cards and all that stuff. But I think that he's that one guy that will kind of rev everything back up, given the 2 years. But it's beyond all that, man. I just have a feeling that both these guys, being who they are, and one being Irish, one being from Dagestan, and you put those elements together, I think Khabib Nurmagomedov, people don't realize how charismatic and how much he'll sell his side of the fight, and the fact that he's 26-0 and he doesn't lose. I just, and the styles are different. I think when you put all those elements together, man, it just makes for such a compelling. It's the most compelling fight I can think of. And again, Conor's kind of cast. He's the one cast in the doubt role, like where it's like, I don't know if this guy, he's done a lot, but I don't know if he can get through this guy. And I think that piece of theater alone, man, is just going to sell it. But by the time that thing is fight week and it's getting to that, I just have a feeling it's going to feel like the biggest thing that's ever happened for the UFC. So yes, I think it'll be the biggest. I think it'll end up being the biggest pay-per-view of all time, the biggest fight. And
badly needed by the promotion as well. As you said, it really has. It gone from every promo used to be the fastest growing sport in the world to the figures are coming out from fights. And it's truly gone to the stage now where it is MMA fans, the hipsters, if you like, of MMA that are the ones watching. But straight away, we can already see the tidal wave of Conor McGregor fans coming back in, especially here in Ireland. You can really see that impact already, and it's only being announced.
Well, I think that's true of out here too, man. I've had multiple, and again, we use these crude gauges to understand if people are paying attention to our sport, But I've heard from so many people who you just don't hear from about MMA unless it's Conor McGregor, So I'm like, you're hearing from all those people again. And people asking very similar questions what you're just talking about. Is this going to be like the craziest fight of all time? And I'm like, yes, I don't even, I said this last year. I was like, this could be the biggest fight of all time. I think they've only sweetened it by kind of prolonging it and giving Khabib, more time to come across, basically, because, what he did to Renan Barão and what he's been doing. I'm like, you put all that together, man, it's just, I just hope nothing bad happens to it. Like, that's really what it comes down to. Like, please just happen, just happen. Yeah. And then if it does, though, man, it's going to be a big boon for the sport, man. I really believe it. Yeah. And everybody involved. I think everybody kind of refracts in that glory. You know what I mean? Like, I think it just kind of reinvigorates everything.
So we've got the return of Conor McGregor. We've got the return of Brock Lesnar. Will we see the hat-trick and John Bones Jones make a return to the UFC octagon?
I think so, man. It's always complicated because we can't really put a proper gauge on it. But I mean, ultimately, I think so. I think as that ESPN deal gets rolling in January or whatever, and I think you'll probably have all big three guys will be kind of back in the rotation, and none too soon, man. Not too soon. I look forward to. I was talking to Luke Thomas. We were on the MMA beat and just saying, like, when you have the stars back in the game, it just makes it so much more fun. Yeah. And I think that this last stretch has shown just how hard it is to have that it factor, to win fights, to know how to talk, to really become that star in the UFC, man. Because we've seen a lot of guys who I think we pegged, watch out for this guy, this or that, but they're not there. You know what I mean? They need more time or whatever. So just getting the guys who bring event back into the equation, like that, make it feel like an event is going to be huge for everybody. Anybody on the card, anybody in the periphery of that card, for the UFC and everything else. So none too soon. I'm glad that they're doing it. I'm glad they're all coming back.
Especially for someone like yourself or someone who covers MMA, it kind of gets tedious when you're like, the fights are great, but then when there's not that big excitement from other people trying to come in on it, it's like, give us something big. What was your other impressions from the press conference? Did anybody else stand out to you? Adesanya kind of came off as a bit of a star, and of course James Vick as well was
James Vick, man. I mean, it's funny because I feel like he's that weird guy who continues to sleep under the radar. Like, people still, even though he wins all these fights, I'm like, I don't really feel like people are talking about him nearly enough. But that was one of the first opportunities. And it's always funny in that context, right? Because you got like a a panel full of stars and Dana White, and it's all centric to like, here's our big thing. You would never see James Vick in that setting.
Yeah.
And finally you see him and you realize like he's completely up for the task, and he's completely nonplussed to be in that company, man. He believes he's going to be there. So it was fun to see that, man. I thought that he came across great, just going against, with the whole Gaethje stuff. I think Adesanya too, man. Just showing up with his hat and his glasses, and he's just every time he shows up, I feel like there's a little more of his personality shows through that type of thing. Darren Till, I mean, I just, that fight to me gets, that fight to me is a little bit more exciting than I thought it would be when it was first announced. It's kind of grown on me, where I'm like, man, this could be actually a really good fight. But all of those stood out, and yeah, I'm trying to think who else was even on the up there. But
Cowboy was up as well.
Obviously Diaz and Poirier, man, just those guys too. That was the one that I kind of got the goose flesh going.
Yeah.
Let's wind it back and look at the weekend that passed. A lot of people are talking about the main event, co-main event at UFC 227, with Demetrious Johnson losing his title after such a long stint to Henry Cejudo. I know sometimes I have a habit of watching a fight and enjoying it and not scoring it. And then when the decision comes, I'm like, oh man, I should have been scoring that. And I then have to rewatch it with my scoring hat on. But do you think it was a fair call? Can you see the reason for the result? And I got a lot of people are screaming robbery. I don't agree with that, but what was your take from it?
I joked robbery either way, because you know that there's going to be a robbery. You know they're going to call robbery no matter what. So I certainly didn't see it as a robbery, man. It's only real. I feel like sometimes when the challenger wins a close fight, we always hear more about it because people want to say, like, if you're going to beat the champ, you got to do it definitively, and there's got to be something emphatic to take the belt away. Obviously, that's not been the case in the UFC. We've seen a lot of these types of things. I thought honestly, I thought the fight was tied 2-2 going into that last round. I'm with you. I wish I had been like maybe paying attention more to scoring, but you're kind of mesmerized by the movement and the scrambles and everything that are going on. I'm not even thinking in that sense. But I know that, like, in a very basic way, I was like, I think this might be 2-2. And so whoever wins this round is probably going to win it. So I didn't have a big problem with Cejudo winning it. It wasn't that big of a surprise to me, but I would have to go back and actually watch the whole fight again to see if I agree with myself in the initial take on that. But I mean, just the fact that he was taking Mighty Mouse down and kind of dictating his will a little more than anybody has done in so long. It was all so novel. I think that my eyes were a little bit more wide open. Like, wow, this is the further this goes, the crazier this gets. So. Awesome in some ways, but I will say that it's a little anticlimactic because when you're a record holder like that, I think you want to see something for that, something that's really emphatic that leaves no doubt. You know what I mean? You don't want to see a streak like that end on something that was razor close. So I feel like maybe that was part of the dissension, or that was coming out of it was just that fact. You know what I mean? But you can't take it away from Cejudo, man, and it kind of. If they don't do the trilogy fight right away, which I think they will, but it just reopens everything at flyweight. All those guys who've been trapped and they have nowhere to go, I'm sure they have a ray of hope when they wake up on Sunday morning just because of the outcome. You know what I mean?
It's something that just with your saying it fizzled out. It reminds me when you open a bottle of soda or lemonade or whatever, and you just leave the cap off for too long, and then you eventually go to pour it and the fizz is gone. That's what it sort of felt like for DJ losing. But it's something we always talk about as well. We used to speak about it with Joanna as well. You thought they were unbeatable. They're unbeatable. They're the king of the division or the queen of the division. There's no way of beating them until they're beaten. And as to your point of the guys who are stuck, the likes of your Ray Borgs and Benavidez, further down the line, all of a sudden they're standing across the cage from Demetrious Johnson and they know he can be beaten. Yeah. And that changes the dynamic of the opponent facing him now.
I agree with you 100%, man. It's the weirdest phenomenon, but I suppose it's almost like anything. If there's a track race and somebody has a record and it just seems like nobody can break it, it becomes the next marker. And so somebody breaks and then it becomes like, oh, well, all things are possible again. Even beating, the thing that we thought was invincible, it's like we keep moving the line of invincibility. And I think that's certainly something with Demetrious Johnson. I was a little bit guilty of it too, because when you write for The Ringer, you're writing for a bigger sports audience. You're not like I can't write it as nuanced and eccentric to my MMA audience as I would in MMA fighting. So I'm basically like, Cejudo's got an uphill battle, he's going to, and then I break into this, who are we kidding? He's Sisyphus, he's pushing the boulder that's going to roll back over him, and I'm just making this point like nobody has a chance against Demetrious Johnson. But as I'm writing it, the piece runs, I'm sitting there looking at the piece before, and I'm like, I think Cejudo has a way better chance than that. I made it sound almost like it was inevitable that Demetrious Johnson was going to win, but I think that is just a condition of a guy who's been that dominant for that long. It just becomes harder and harder to conceive of him losing. It becomes harder and harder to imagine scenarios where he can be outplayed. You know what I mean? So I think that all of that was ultimately there, because when I thought about that fight, I was like, well, we know Cejudo's gotten better standing. We know he's incorporating his wrestling better and all this stuff, but not any one glaring thing where you're like, he's going to be able to pick apart Demetrious Johnson in this area. There was nothing like that. So, until you see it, you have to, you believe it when you see it type thing. And, he went out there and he did it. It wasn't definitive, like I said, but it was certainly enough to make it non-controversial. I thought it was a good performance, and, and now we move on. But the sheen of invincibility, I don't know if he'll get it. It's hard to get that back after you lose it, for sure.
What was your thoughts on Cejudo's call out of TJ after the fight? For me, it didn't hurt the win, but it was kind of like, oh, really? Like, you have a guy who's just had so many title defenses. Like, I know, like, he's looking for something a little bit different, but for me, it was kind of, it soured it a little bit.
It's always one of those scenarios. So, like, okay, in this particular scenario, why would that even be brought up? It's only because we were talking about DJ versus TJ, right? Yeah. So we're thinking about crossing over because one guy has a record. We need him challenged. We need some doubt into the matchmaking that he might lose. It only works on that level. It's like a super fight because we need it. It's out of necessity. So when a guy comes in who disrupts it and then wants to basically plug himself into the same scenario, it doesn't make sense anymore. So that's kind of that's the thing that bothered me about it. I'm like, well, wait a minute. Now you're the one who finally reopened up the division, and we know a trilogy fight probably has. There's all these weird scenarios, but it's like you can't. The set of logistics that were set up for Demetrious Johnson don't apply to a new champion. It goes right back to, hey, you've got business to handle right where you're at. So it felt very off, and I agree with you. It kind of took a little bit away. I was like, well, dude, just win it and play it like what. I suppose you could call somebody out, but I would rather you win it and you just give the sense of like, hey, the division is mine. Yeah. Come all challenges. Now it's my division or something like that. I didn't really like the call out, man. The other thing was that, Dillashaw, we didn't know, you're still impending to know how that fight's going to play out, like at that moment. And the other, there's other challenges for him, and it changes that dynamic that would trump you want to see a Cejudo Dillashaw match. So there was just too much. There's too much confusion. The logic doesn't stack up for a new champion like that.
I'm not sure what the impression in the crowd was. It seemed like they reacted to it fairly well. I don't know if you were covering the event, but do you think it will hurt them in the long run? Because there's people still talking about Tyron Woodley after he won the title, calling out GSP. And do you think it's still going to hurt Henry Cejudo going forward?
Maybe, man. That's a tough question. Maybe not, because I think that, it kind of showed, like, the GSP thing was weird because he was gone, right? He was on hiatus. I think that because Dillashaw's active and he's been so good, it probably won't add up to the exact same thing. It's actually Cejudo asking for a fight that's much harder than anything else you could probably find right now in the flyweight division. So I don't think on the merit level or on that level of like what he's trying to do, it will harm him any. But hopefully he doesn't try to stick to his guns and dig his heels in for any of this, because then I think it would be off-putting. You know what I mean? I think it would be off-putting in a similar way. I think he's obviously, why not just be wishful thinking in fights like that? That one was all out of whack from the circumstances, but ultimately, I don't think he did anything. Let's put it that way. I don't think he did himself any real harm and calling him out. And I think he correct that pretty quickly. You know what I mean? Just by accepting whatever next fight he's going to do.
The main event seeing TJ Dillashaw knock out former teammate Cody Garbrandt, and finally we can get rid of this alpha male bang Ludwig argument. It was really tiresome. But Garbrandt, as we spoke about the fight earlier in the show, and I sort of felt like Garbrandt has regressed in what he's doing in the cage. If we look at it, sort of we dressed it up was the night he beat Dominic Cruz was this just a perfect night for Cody Garbrandt, because he hasn't shown any of that style against Dillashaw, and for me he looked heavy-footed. He wasn't using footwork. He wasn't using his movement. He wasn't using his boxing. He was really swinging his shots. But more so, rather than the fight itself, was this rematch the worst possible fight really for Cody Garbrandt? Because he's all of a sudden gone from the champion to on a 2-fight skid here.
And no direct course back, right? Like, after you lose twice like that, you're now at the mercy of how long Dillashaw is the champion. So, I know what you're saying, man. When I watched him take apart and just really school Dominic Cruz, I thought we were looking at, I mean, it was like one of the most amazing feats I'd seen. Honestly, that was probably top 5 crazy things that I didn't ever expect to see. You know, like just the way he did it, and especially because we were so used to Dominic Cruz bewitching the guy in front of him, just making guys miss and, you know, tagging him with counters and weird angles and stuff like that. I was really surprised. I think, honestly, it's because he's a younger guy who loves to stand up. I think he's been very confident. He's a very confident guy. And I think that, he fights emotionally a little bit. He likes to feed off emotion. And he's going against a guy that he truly doesn't like in a situation like all that situation you just mentioned that's grown very tiresome has been sitting over that situation. And I think that he probably somewhere in that mental morale, I think he just kind of mired himself. Through that whole process. I think maybe it was just too emotional. So playing back that fight, I never really liked it. When they announced it, I was like, I didn't really like it. I talked myself into it because why wouldn't you want to see two guys like that fight again? But maybe it wasn't the best mental fight for him to take right away. You kind of wanted to see him get back to a guy that, it's competition, and he just gets back to his swagger a little bit. But, I agree. It didn't seem like the same Cody Garbrandt. It seems like he has... You never know, man. Guys lose and then they change. Look at the Ngannou thing. It's like you watch and you're just like, what happened there? Obviously it wasn't nearly as drastic as that. But guys get altered, man. They get too much in their head. Little hesitations that would have not been there can alter everything. You know what I mean? Just that killer instinct. If it goes away just a little bit, that alters everything. So I think he needs to get back, just get back to what he was doing and get to a fight where it's just like he was, like he's trying to prove something again, like he wanted to prove that he's at that level and all that stuff, because he was great in that come up. And the Dominic Cruz fight was all about like proving that he was the best. And I think that he just got mired too much in that emotional stuff that's been going on with Dillashaw. But I feel bad for him, man. You know what I mean? I feel bad because he's going to have in this fight, in this game, sometimes you get breaks and you end up back like, Daniel Cormier had lost the second fight, and we thought that was it for him and Jones. All of a sudden, he's got two belts like a year later. Like there's weird things that happen in the sport, but if everything kind of plays out the way they're supposed to, he's got a little bit of a row back. You know what I mean? And but he's certainly young enough to be able to do it. I kind of want to see the old Cody back, though, man. I got to see him doing that stuff he was doing when he was coming up.
Where on the flip side, then we've lost the super fight with DJ and TJ. So what's next for TJ? Surely it's Marlon Moraes. Surely is the number one guy to take him here. As in the next
which one were you asking about?
TJ Dillashaw. He's lost the super fight with DJ. So is it Marlon Moraes is probably going to be the next port of call? Surely here.
I would. So do we know the Cruz timetable? I didn't get a chance to check it out because obviously I would love to see that fight because. Dominic Cruz had such a long reign, and he's coming off that one loss where he was schooled. I'm really anxious to see kind of how he looks when he returns in this fight. I'd love to see that one, but I love the fact that guys like Marlon Moraes are right there. You know what I mean? So I feel like, especially how good he's looked of late, I would not complain at all, and I could see that scenario playing out for, I could see the UFC saying, hey, this is a great fight. I think the bigger fight, obviously, would be the Cruz fight, if they're able to put that together. But there is a little bit of, like, this exhausting feeling of rematches that's been going on, so I could see, in a weird way, that they're like, hey, we need to get, some blood flow back through here. Let's put one of the challengers has been kind of right there. Let's get him through, you know what I mean? So I guess I would lean that direction. If it can't be Cruz, I would lean that direction for sure. I think that would be a dynamic fight, man. And Marlon Moraes he's just a beast, man. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I think he's been waiting to prove something too, in the way that we were talking about Cody Garbrandt. So anytime you get a hungry guy like that who's ready to show what he can do, man, I'm not complaining about that fight.
Yeah, you'd wonder who TJ would want as well, because he seems like that ultra competitive guy that would, on one hand, he'd want the new guy, he'd want to beat that new blood, and then on the other hand, he wants that win back. So you'd kind of wonder who he'd push for.
Yeah, and I think especially for a competitive guy like Dillashaw, man, obviously I think he was happy to get that Assunção fight back.
Yeah.
To avenge. I think he would love to, because both of those fights were so razor thin when he lost. I think that we've seen him look really, really good in rematches, man. And I think that, again, that's part of the intrigue and this sort of thing, like how he would handle his second fight with Cruz, what he would do differently. All of that would be very intriguing for guys like us, I think, to see kind of what he comes up with. And I think as the competitor, man, I think that that's the fight he would prefer. I think he would love to just avenge all of his losses. I don't think he's ever going to get the John Dodson one back again, but the Dominic Cruz one, I think, is probably the one that sticks in his craw the most at this point. He's just such a competitive dude, you know what I mean? Yeah. I think that he thinks that way.
The California State released fight day weigh-ins as well. They gave the announcement of the weights. It was very interesting reading. I think you said along the lines of they were all up a weight class. Yeah. Obviously they're cutting weight, so they are going to be.
Yeah, so that's great. Yeah, it's insane. So if anyone didn't see it, they released the fight day weights of the guys that fought at 227, and there was some insane weights. Like just the one that stood out was Alex Perez, who weighed in at 126 pounds for flyweight, was 146.5 pounds, 16.3 pounds above his weight the day before on fight day. How insane is that?
Well, I'll tell you what, when they're telegraphed like this, I think it points to the extreme absurdity of what some of these guys are doing to themselves just to get in there, man. I mean, you hear a fluctuation like that. And I mean, I've heard it, obviously, like without knowing official numbers, I've heard many fighters like, oh man, I put on 25 pounds since, and you're always like, I wonder if that's accurate. I will say that because this is the second time they've done that, right? Like, is this the second time that they've,
I think so.
It feels like I saw the first time and I, there's something really, when you finally see a visual or you put it in as, it becomes like a fact. It kind of changes it changes how you think of it. You know what I mean? Like, I think sometimes these guys just suffer in silence and you don't really think about it. You know, they just show up, they look good. They finally got, they're hydrated and all this stuff, but it just tells you how much these guys are what kind of hell they're putting themselves through to make these weights, man. I think it all just goes into like, how are we going to reform this in a way that we can make it less risky? Because I still believe, man, and we talked about this on the beat a lot, if there's going to be a casualty in this sport, it's going to be on the Thursday or the Friday of fight week where somebody, dies or something like that. And it's just going to, I really don't want to have to try to explain that to any casual fan who's like, hey, somebody died in your sport. You know what I mean? I don't want to have to explain this ridiculous thing. So I'm glad that they're being a little more transparent with it. And we keep I feel like we're inching closer to figuring out maybe how to fix this thing. But things like that certainly.
That's the problem, I think, is the equation with this is what is the fix? Because I genuinely believe if you put more weight classes that have been proven, you're just going to get bigger guys cutting down to the different weights.
The thing what I find is silly is that they can have this like really like a crazy drug testing policy where they test people randomly. Why can't they have something to do with weight cutting? I don't get it. It's not really that much different,
I think they should. I think it was Brian Campbell. We had him on the beat, and he was mentioning, like, here's what you do. You weigh him twice on Thursday, once in the morning, and you weigh him twice on, Friday, and then you weigh him twice on Saturday of fight. And I'm like, well, you are going to get a consistent, weight. You're not going to be able to do much with that. I don't know, man. To be honest, I've been through these scenarios so much. It's almost like a riddle at this point. Like, how do you maintain it? I just think that the educational part where you're starting to see the number, like you see the numbers and you do hear more and more people talking about it. I think we've seen some people who went up in weight from their normal weight classes who had some success. I think that all those things eventually will kind of make this feel more and more archaic, this time period of all this extreme weight cutting. So at some point, man, I think it'll start to improve, but I don't know by what method it'll be yet,
Yeah, it is insane. It's scary when you see the numbers, and you see some of them. There's footage of a fight in Asia where the guy was carried out to the weighing scales, weight, and that's a sad day for any sport that sort of happens. It's
madness. It's
Like
madness.
we're gonna throw this guy in there to fight tomorrow night. He can barely stand on his own. It defeats the logic. Like, who even wants to watch that guy fight at that point? You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's just a weird kind of like thing you say in your head, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna fight a man tomorrow. I better just get in a terrible state today just so I can fight tomorrow. Like it's insane. It's
the only thing I feel like the only thing the weigh-ins, the only thing the weigh-ins truly do when you can see a guy who's basically a shell of himself or has had a rough cut. I just think that the only thing that people take from it are the gamblers. I think a lot of times I think gamblers look at it like, okay, wait, let's base our sharp money off of what we're seeing, the night before and things like that. So obviously Vegas caters to a lot of things, but I don't think that Vegas should cater to that. You know what I mean? Like, you can't cater your gambling towards people's health like that.
Yeah. Chuck, it's been a pleasure as always talking to you. Thanks again for joining us. Keep up the great work that you're doing. How was life actually with the new MMA fighting and ring without Ariel Helwani off of ESPN rubbing it with the big boys? But how is life? You missing Ariel over there?
Oh yeah, I mean but the good thing is he didn't go far, So I'm like I see him basically running mostly the same stuff, which is great. It's been it's been a period because I think a lot of people put Ariel's face MMA fighting. I think a lot of people think of Ariel. I think there's a lot of fans who I think thought he ran the site. I think that they thought he owned the site and all this stuff, and it's just it's been a little bit of gotta fill some big shoes. You're never going to actually fill his shoes. I think that there's been a very nice positive vibe at MMA fighting because there's so many talented people still involved in it, and I think that ultimately once you get through the process of like denial and it's just like the 7 steps or whatever, and you get to acceptance, you say, okay, well, what do we do? How do we enhance our own things, and how do we kind of fill the holes the best we can? And man, I'll tell you what, they're pros, man. The guys that I work with over there, and I feel like everybody's handled it really well. There's been nothing but positive vibes, honestly. And there's some things that they'll be unveiling coming up that hopefully will also, just kind of give it a little bit more of a directional shift to kind of separate, and become something, to evolve into something else a little bit more. And we'll get to. I don't know how much I'm at liberty to talk about it, but I mean, there'll be a couple of other cool changes coming up too.
Yeah.
And everybody's been real positive, man.
Yeah, it's been really good. Like I love the change. Even like the MMA hour going into that was like, man, it's going to be difficult to fill Ariel's shoes and that. But then Luke changes it to be a different type of show almost, which works way better than what he would have done with the old formula, I guess. I think it's
true. He couldn't just take whatever the blueprint was and just try to duplicate it. That would have been for sure like a failure. So I think he wanted to put some of his analytical ideas into it, have less guests, kind of make it more in the spirit of a true MMA hour. Like he wanted to make it like, I think it's 2 hours, but it's like to truncate it and make it like management and just kind of add those elements. So he's done a good job, man. Again, when somebody has something like that, like a vehicle that has been that good and has just been that defining for the site, you can't win in terms of ultimately you can't win in terms of trying to just keep it rolling that way. So Luke has handled it well, man. I think the editors on down to the guys. Writing the daily, all the news stuff. And I mean, everybody's just kind of kept the thing rolling. And it seems like our fan base, honestly, if it hasn't strengthened, it's been very. I haven't really perceived a big drop off. I feel like just as many people come to the site, just as many people remark on it. Remark
still
to you.
My first stop,
honestly, I think that those were the concerns, and so far so good.
Yeah, and I was still my stop for news. Whenever I want to get the latest news, I go on to MMAfighting.com. One suggestion I'd have for Luke is he's got to get his buddy from the live stream just to sit in the corner and the camera to go on his face the odd time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, the greatest gift in the world.
We'll point this out to him. I'll see him on Thursday. We'll point this out.
Tell him. Just he needs his buddy that had too many drinks.
The guy that watched WrestleMania with him, that guy? Yeah, that was great.
Brilliant, great times. But again, Chuck, appreciate your time. We held on to you for longer than we told you we would. So again, we appreciate that.
Cheers.
And we'll talk soon again. You're always welcome and obviously Fight
You
Talk.
coming out in October?
We'd love to.
Yeah.
Get MMA Fighting to pay for it. We'll do it.
Get MMA Fighting to fly us over, and we are there.
We'll take a phone call when we get done here.
Me, Rob, and Pete, Carol will cover the show. Perfect one. But again, a pleasure, my man. Maybe, hopefully, you might see Rob. Not a chance. Me, 2 kids.
Right on.
Cheers, man.
Thanks a million, my man.
Yeah.
Take
Thanks
care.
so much.
Chapman. There we are. The man in the hat, Chuck Minhall.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and again, holding on for way too much longer.
Yeah.
He's probably looking going, guys,
Yeah.
dinner. But he's not, because he's a gentleman. But let's keep it rolling and let's look back in history, Rob, because you don't know where you're going unless you know where you've come from.
Beautiful.
This week in MMA history. Welcome back to Obviously Fight Talk, and this week in MMA history, as I said at the top of the show, this is an Anderson Silva double barrel. We first look back to UFC 101. This took place on the 8th of August 2009. This was Anderson Silva's famous fight against Forrest Griffin, where he moved up to 205, Rob.
Yeah.
And Forrest Griffin left the cage in embarrassment after it.
Yeah, this was one of Anderson Silva's probably most iconic performances, I'd say, even though it wasn't for a title. It was just pure Anderson Silva. You know, he made Forrest miss, and then he finished him, and he barely even knocked him out. It's just he hit him, Forrest fell, and he was just like, oh, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. He was just getting tagged all over the place. But the great thing about this, for me, just personally, is that I remember exactly when I seen this, because I didn't see it live. I was on holiday. I was in Spain, and I was
on north side holiday, huh?
I was in Spain. And I was like, oh my God, the UFC was on last night. I couldn't watch it. I was trying to get the results, but obviously it was back in the day. Internet wasn't as easy to get, but there was a PC near our apartment that you had to pay for and go onto it. I remember going onto it and getting this YouTube video. I don't even think it was YouTube at the time. I'm not sure what it was. That took about half an hour to load, and I was like, oh, let me see this, and I saw it. But man, Anderson Silva was good, wasn't he? He was good.
He was on dick pills though.
Yeah, but he was good though.
He's been cleared. Oh man, that was phenomenal. I know, you see, it killed me because I was a big Forrest Griffin fan.
Yeah,
I'm a big Anderson Silva fan as well. But as much as the fight was, you didn't want to see like Forrest. He was like, it was as if Anderson wasn't there. He was just coming forward.
Yeah, and then Anderson went like this, and then
I just went, oh yeah, have a bit of that. Hit him with a real lazy but beautiful, precise shot.
Yeah, his precision was quite precise.
His precision was quite precise. Then let's fast forward to the
year later, wasn't it?
8th of July. Now this could be American fucking dates. You know the way they put the 8 in.
Oh yeah, you have experience with that.
Can't remember. Yeah, certainly do.
It was a year later.
A year later. Anderson Silva fought.
Wait, it's this week in MMA history.
Yeah, so obviously it was August. Yeah, it was actually today. 8 years ago. Great. So well done, Rob. Thank God you're here. Finally bringing something to the show. Anderson Silva fought and defeated Chael Sonnen after getting his ass whooped for 23 minutes. Silva threw up a triangle armbar to tap out Chael Sonnen.
Tell your story now.
The bad guy. So I went to the bookmakers and I basically picked the whole card. So on that card there was 11 fights, and I only done like a €5 bet maybe, but I picked the full card, and the big picks out of it, as we just said, looking at it, Rob, was Clay Guida to beat RDA, and I picked Chael Sonnen to beat Anderson Silva. It was a lot of money. It was about 400 or 500 quid I won from it.
But back in that day, that was worth €6,000.
That was worth $600 million. But Chael, and I was in such denial. I was, he never tapped. What are you on about? He never tapped. Fuck you, Josh Rosenthal. Do you know what I mean? It was Josh Rosenthal, wasn't it? But yeah,
and that's how you spoke back in that time.
Yeah, it's exactly. Oh man, heartbroken.
Yeah.
Heartbroken.
He never made that amount of money again in his life.
it was the blueprint to beat Anderson Silva was developed that night.
Well, then it was Chris Weidman knocking him fuck out, but that was another one. It was like when you watch the fight back, it's an amazing fight, but like it's not the most exciting fight. It was Chael on top for
bad guy.
You have to watch
Wrestling Oregon.
Yeah, you have to watch it in the context of what it was to really appreciate it. But do you remember the documentary came out then about Anderson, like Water, I think it was called. It was very good as well. It's normal.
He's a normal Chael
Yeah.
Sonnen.
But man, what a
He
historic
speaks
double.
English. Man, Chael Sonnen's shit talk for that fight was just epic.
Yeah.
Man, the guy.
Anderson Silva has a black belt under the Nogueira brothers.
Yeah, Chael Sonnen. Nobody knows what 500,000 divided by 50
Oh,
is.
yeah,
Did you
yeah,
see
yeah,
that?
seen that.
They've tried it on calculators.
Yeah,
and everything.
yeah,
No, nobody knows.
Yeah.
I love Chael Sonnen. That was, when you think about it, that's insane. That was. Man, it makes you feel old. You know, you think you're watching MMA long, and then you think, Jesus, that fight was that long. It's like when someone says to me 20 years ago, I think of the 70s. I think 20 years ago was the 70s. I don't know if any of our older listeners think that. But you know, when you say 20 years ago, what's that mean to you? When you think 20, don't be an asshole now and say, yeah, 1998. Like, don't say that. Like, 20 years ago, what's it mean to you?
90s.
Does it?
I was born in the
Yeah,
90s.
that's mad. Is he? Nah, it's mad though, because I was born.
I'd hardly say that.
I was born
I'd
in
say,
nine-
oh well, the
Yeah,
80s.
no, but I was
when
born
I
in-
wasn't born.
I was born in 1980.
Yeah.
But when someone says 20 years, I think, yeah, the 70s. That's really what you mean.
It's just,
But when you think that fight was 8 years ago,
just clutching onto your youth.
that's disappointing now. You're so old. But yeah, man,
Great
that's,
stuff, though.
that's prime time Anderson Silva.
Yeah.
But
That's
the
the show.
blueprint was built. Great stuff.
Great show.
It has
Enjoyed
been
that.
a great show. 118. It's been a cracker. I promise you at the start, I said this is, if it was a box of chocolates, we would have been Quality Street. Because this was quality. Shout out to Darren Till for coming on to obviously Fight Talk yet again. The man in the hat, Chuck Minenhall. I love having Chuck on and
Yeah.
just chatting away with him. He does great things. If you check him out on MMA Fight and check out all his articles and The Ringer. Great stuff as we talked about as well. But Rob, thank you as well
Thanks,
for coming
man.
on.
That was fun.
Brennan Dorman, we hope to see you next week when
Yeah.
it's not a bank holiday. and
No,
you come
not next
on.
week.
No, next week. Rob's away on
I'm away.
holidays.
Yeah.
That's disappointing.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of the show suffers.
We should have said
When
that
I-
at the start of the show.
When I go away,
Yeah.
the show keeps going.
Yeah, yeah.
When Rob goes away,
Just crashes, yeah.
hit pause there.
Yeah, so I'm away. So probably a home edition, not next week, the week after, because I'm still away. Technically, I'm off.
There you go.
I'm going to Brussels, Bruges, and Paris.
There you go, folks. So if you are in Brussels, Bruges, or Paris, and
Say
you
hello.
see Cody Garbrandt walking around, and you go, he's wearing makeup to cover up his tattoos. It's not.
And
It's
black eyes.
It's Robert Palin. But yeah, so hit pause and we'll see you again. I'd love to say, you know what, I might do a live stream. It's not gonna happen. That's not going to happen. So next week, what you should do is, just to see how good this show is now,
Yeah.
go back and look for the earliest edition of the record when we were in studio. And it was a cracker of a show. It was James Gallagher, Keane Cowley, Dan Hardy,
Oh, yeah.
me, you, and some bald psychopath. That was the
Daniel
first
Mulvaheady, was it?
No, that was the first recorded show on your little gay pink fucking phone arm.
Yeah, yeah.
The first show was recorded off
Oh,
Rob's
man.
phone.
That was a mental day, wasn't it? Trying to get all that set up. Remember, we were like, oh, let's try to record this. Yeah, we don't have a camera.
Do you know
on
what it
us.
was? It was typical me. Let's
Yeah.
record video, Rob.
Yeah, Rob, set that up.
Do that now.
Me sweating.
Fight Star Ireland, the fighter's choice.
Yep.
MMAmix.com and to feelsupreme.co.uk. Check them out. Fight code is Fight Talk. Is that at the end of the checkout?
Yeah, the fight code is Fight Talk.
So 10% off. Be gone with you. This was 118. You've been beautiful. Thanks for the support as always.
Yeah.
And see us when Rob decides to come back from holidays. I don't know what that voice is.
Yeah.